this video today is to demonstrate how to create your recalls group and how to ensure that no patients are being forgotten in the process. Now, this video is going to move quite quickly, so if you'd like a more in-depth demonstration, please contact our support team with your questions. First, we'll start by going to our Recalls tab. You'll see over here in our Recalls Due screen, there are three different areas. We've got patients with recalls, patients without recalls, and non-recall patients. Now, I recommend to check all three of these areas each time you are creating a recall group, just so that you can make sure that no patients are falling through the cracks. So we'll start with our non-recall patients. This screen is going to show you any patient who has been marked as non-recall or your suspended, inactive, guarantor or deceased patients. I would recommend to check by their last appointment, so that's their last checkup. Now, clicking on this column header twice will bring the most recent dates to the top of the screen. I can see that 5 of these patients have actually been seen for an examination appointment. So these are your 011, 022 item codes. Now, I would check this most recent one here because I can't see an obvious note to indicate that they have requested no recall. So I want to make sure that this isn't a mistake. So having a look at John Bunley's file, we can see that he came in for his appointment on the 1st of June, which was just last week. I can't see anything obvious to indicate that he doesn't want to come in for a recall. I would check the clinical notes and I'd also check the communications. Make sure you do this because the patient may have emailed or SMS'd a request not to be contacted, or your dentist may have left a note to say that they do not want this patient recalled. We'll assume that those are blank for this patient. There's nothing to indicate they shouldn't be coming back. So I will go to his personal details. I'm going to change his patient status to current, and I'm also going to untick this box for non-recall patient, and I'll save. The next thing I'll do is I will visit his recall area. Now, keeping in mind his last appointment for an examination was the 1st of June, I'm going to reset his recall to December. I'm happy with this date, but you can change your month period here, or you can enter in your own personalised date. So I can change this to the 1st of December. You can leave any notes here for your recall if you'd like, and then set the recall. This is going to remove him from this screen here because we don't want him over here. Now, looking over the rest of these, I have actually left a note for myself to indicate that these files have already been checked. So checked, checked, checked. I recommend to do this because it's going to save you a lot of time. If all staff are on the same page and you're doing this regularly, this check of this screen is going to take you less than 60 seconds. The next screen we'll look at is the patients without recalls. So this has the same idea, and I would do the same process. This screen will show you patients that are still marked as a current patient, but for whatever reason, they don't have a recall date set. So I'd start by looking at the date of their last checkup. These ones have come in fairly recently, these top 3, so I would again check their file, see if there's a reason that they don't have a recall date set, and if not, I'd set a recall for them, or I would mark them as non-recall. And I would do the same for all of these people who have come in for a checkup. Then I might look at their last seen date and order this list by their last seen date. Again, checking to see if is there a reason they don't have a recall set. Perhaps they were an emergency patient and they only wanted to come in that one time. If that's the situation, I would either be contacting them to suggest that they come in for a full examination, or I would mark them as a non-recall patient. The preference for this screen is that there should not be any patient showing on this screen that has been seen before. So all of these patients here, I would either be setting a recall date for them or marking them as do not recall. You will also have a number of patients that don't have a last seen date. This is because we have a file created for them, but they've never actually been seen by the practice. It's up to you if you want to leave them as a current patient or if you want to mark them as inactive. Keep in mind, if you do have a significant number of patients, so for example, there's 700 patients here, you can ask us for our assistance and we can help you by setting them all as inactive patients for you so that you don't have to go into each file manually. The last page we'll look at is the patients with recalls. Now, this is where you will create most of your groups from. So I will set my date range up here. Let's make a group for July, that's next month, and I'll apply. Now, once again, I am going to order this screen by their last checkup. And I do this because I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally putting patients into this recall group that have been seen recently. So, for example, we've got Simon Wagner. He has been seen this month ahead of his recall due date. So he had a checkup done in June and his recall was due in July. I'm going to say that this patient has likely just come in ahead of time. They're really on top of things. Perhaps they had an issue that they wanted addressed. I would check their clinical notes, check their communications, see, do they actually need to come in again next month, or have we done everything that we need for another 6 months? And then I'd probably reset their recall. So I'll reschedule their recall and we can do, again, a custom date. I'm going to set this one for another 5 months and we'll reschedule. Always keep in mind when you are setting their recall date, if they have private health insurance, you don't want to set it for less than 6 months ahead of time because they may not get much back from their claim if they're claiming within 6 months. Now, I am satisfied that the rest of these checkups are correct. We are creating a group for July and all of these patients were seen in January or beforehand. So I'm going to select all patients and I'll create my new recall group. Now, I would recommend to change this name. This just makes it much easier later on when you're managing your recall groups because you can see at a glance the month that you're working with. And I will save. This is going to empty our recalls due section for this date period and send them all over into our recalls groups management. So we can see here July, there are 48 patients that we've added into the group and currently 54% of them already have an appointment booked. So if you're wanting to move on to the next video, please feel free to do so and I will show you how to manage your recall group from here. Thank you so much.